Happy Halloween. This is Ra. Ra, say hello. She's a bee. She came up here for Halloween and for treats. Oh, good girl. Hello, everybody. Anybody here? We're going to wait for people to join on. Oh. Okay. Hello, Kiana Sage here for the Being in Sync. Hey, Tammy, meet Ra. She's a bee for Halloween. Hey, Sailors Live, good to see you. This is Ra. She's a bee. Hey, Peter. Good to see you. Oh, I forgot my microphone. Can you hear me okay? I gotta go get the mic. Hold on. No, I need it. Sorry about that. Is this better? Tell me. Hold on. Oh, Ra. Let's see. She's never been on the counter before. Better now? Oh, she's right in front of her treats and she's just like a big girl. Hold on. Is that better? Okay, y'all. Okay, so today's topic is going to be on coping mechanisms. What is a good question? What is a good question for the poll for coping mechanisms? Are you aware of your coping mechanisms? Is that a good one? Let me see. Okay, there's the poll for you all today. And thank you. She just dresses up once a year. I never liked Halloween, but when I got a puppy, I was like, oh, she definitely needs an outfit, as if she's not cute enough as it is. Good to see you all. I'm on a little bit later today. It's been a busy day. So I wanted to talk about coping mechanisms for the last, I think 2 months. But the topic is so huge that I really wasn't sure thank you so much for your compliment. I really wasn't sure how to share on this topic in a way that would be really functional and beyond just having conscious awareness, so you can actually use it and put it into practice. So my sense of it is that I'm going to do 2 sessions on this topic. And so let me just introduce myself for those of you, the handful of you who don't know who I am. I'm Kiana Sage, and I guide people to peace. And every day I come on here for this Being in Sync 366 video series. And you hear those bells? She needs to go to the bathroom now. Hold on. Okay. Straight to potty. So sorry. All right, here I am. So every day I'm doing these videos for the Being in Sync 366 video series. The intention is to provide actionable items that people can use that helps them gain awareness and align to the natural laws and even learn about the natural laws. So the natural law that we're talking about today is the law of mentalism. Okay, so the law of mentalism is really tapping in to that universal mind, the mind of all, we are all one. And that's really all part of the cosmic sovereign laws of the universal mind. So it's really applicable to everything because all of these laws are always in operation, even if we don't understand them. Somebody did a potty. She gets a potty treat. Come here. Good girl. Okay, sorry. All right. So today we're talking about coping mechanisms. So coping mechanisms are should I wait? We got 5 minutes, right? I usually try to wait 5 minutes before I go. Okay. I could go ahead and start the content now. So the content is super simple today, and I wanted to make it super simple, and I can answer as many questions as there are about this. But at its root, all coping mechanisms are employed to avoid a perceived stressor. So a coping mechanism is there to help you avoid being stressed, right? And or avoid a perceived threat, whether it's conscious or unconscious, okay? So most of the time, these coping mechanisms are, sorry, my text messages and my phone are still turned on, so I need to turn that off. Okay, sorry folks. Can you tell I went from one meeting to another and I haven't had a chance to like chill out? But I wanted to come on here and do this topic because it's been on my mind for months. All right, so oftentimes coping mechanisms are running in the unconscious. That means that you don't have awareness of them. So the problem with that is that those coping mechanisms often block your alignment. So when you're talking about alignment physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, you don't want to have blocks there because anything that blocks you will create a distortion or a misdirection of your conscious energy. You don't want that. Nobody wants that. So what do you want to do when you have coping mechanisms? I'm going to use the example of somebody who is aloof, right? In the corporate world, we call that bitchy. I think I'm allowed to say that. Women get called bitchy all the time, but maybe the word is aloof. And maybe, you've been called that. And you wonder, well, what is that really about? Well, that could be a way that some people self-protect, and it also could be a way of actually controlling people being able to get close to you. Maybe you've been accustomed to being aloof, and aloof might mean, I'll get to that message when I get to it. Like you don't rush to respond to somebody who you're trying to build a relationship with because you're aloof, right? I get to it when I get to it. Even though you can get to it sooner, but you're so much in this behavior or this self-protection. Hey, Jerry. You can really try to be aloof so you don't get too close, that they don't know too much information, or so you can have control. So it's so very interesting. So what's important about coping mechanisms is super simple. Awareness, okay? You got to have awareness, but awareness alone does not change the stress. You must take conscious action. So you want to identify what the coping mechanisms are. You want to acknowledge them, and then you want to redirect. Because most of the time, those coping mechanisms they're manifesting or being expressed because that's how you've always been. And you never really consciously took an inventory to adjust in the right direction. And because you didn't know those coping mechanisms were blocking you energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, you continue to do these things like be aloof. And you even there are even clients that I've had that get reports that they are bitchy to their counterparts, that they're bitchy to people at the gym, that they're bitchy to their friends. And they don't think they're that way. And it's not that they want to be that way. That's how they're perceived. Now, you all perceive me one way that might be different than how I am. But sometimes in the chat, I will get a comment and I'm like, oh, that's weird. That's interesting. And then I'll go and I'll look at it differently and I'll see, oh, that's what that was. So we're always in a constant reflection, redirection, reflection, redirection. You cannot get to the redirection without acknowledgement. So there must be conscious acknowledgement. So you have awareness through identification, through acknowledgement. Once you have acknowledgement, you can redirect. And when I say acknowledgement, you notice that this aloofness is not actually, this aloofness is not actually who you want to be. It's just something you have been expressing, but that's not the truth of who you are. So how do you shift it? That's what we want to look at. So that is the two aspects that I wanted to present today. I'm really curious about what questions you have about coping mechanisms because, like I said, I have been thinking about this topic for months and knowing that I wanted to talk about this, but it's so huge. So what are your questions about coping mechanisms? What are your thoughts about it? Because there's a part 2 to this. For certain, there's a part 2, but I'm just kind of doing small chunks. And I wanted to give you something that you could really do something with today. Okay. Just going to look in here. Thank you, Peter, for being here and helping out. Thank you, Tammy. Good to see you here. Glad you all can hear me. Okay. Oh, the Life with Live Hangouts, Chris says, hey, it's been a while. It has been a while, but I'm here every day. Chris, where have you been? I'm doing good, y'all. Thank you for your compliments. Jerry, good to see you. Jerry is saying, coping mechanisms help you get through the moment. Well, do we want to just get through moments or do we want to thrive through moments? I think it just depends on how you want to do your life. If you want to start to thrive and be in alignment, it's not about getting through. It's about consciously being aware of what's happening from moment to moment to moment. Happy Halloween, Matthew. Good to see you. The Life with Live Hangouts with Chris is saying, be honest. Don't you know you're fine? Actually, that is not how I describe myself, Chris. You guys are funny. Okay, Rashid, what's your question? Answering questions on coping mechanisms. Do you know what they are is the question in the poll. And 2, what questions do you have about coping mechanisms? Because we already know that coping mechanisms are a way in which we avoid stress. But oftentimes we have them in play without our conscious awareness when there's no stress around at all. So why would we do that? If that blocks us from alignment, that wouldn't be a smart thing to do, would it? Hey, Russia, good to see you. Thank you. Hey, Australia, Matthew, welcome. Okay, so Jerry, I was in an emergency tool, a coping mechanism can help you get through the moment. Yes, that's coping mechanisms are about getting through high stress times, but we're not in high stress times all the times, and oftentimes our coping mechanisms are happening every day without our conscious awareness, without the stress, and we just keep doing them. And because we have them employed and haven't brought conscious awareness to them, they are blocking our alignment. So if you're not in stress, what coping mechanisms are at play is what I would ask. Right? And how are they blocking you? Well, I got through all the questions. Hey, Eric, good to see you. Thank you for being here. I should do a bell for all the locals. Matthew. Matthew, I would say thank you for subscribing, but your comments are way off topic. Curious, you're a flight attendant. All right. Any questions about, it doesn't, so maybe this isn't a topic that I thought should be for if you all don't have questions and this topic doesn't interest you, that is amazing to me because so many people have coping mechanisms at play and at work that are blocking them from alignment, and they keep doing it. So 52% of you absolutely know what your coping mechanisms are. And why would you go to none? Why would you go to no coping mechanisms? Why do you need coping mechanisms if you're not in a stressful life? Yes, a lot of people smoke pot to avoid stress. That's a really good awareness. And you don't smoke just a little bit of pot. You smoke copious amounts of pot. So that means you're completely checked out of reality. But I bet you think you're in reality. You're in another reality. Happy Halloween, everybody. So my coping mechanisms, I don't have very many. I don't avoid. I bet you there are people that wish I would. Is addictive mentally a coping mechanism? Overthinking would be a coping mechanism. It would be a way of getting out of making conscious actions. Good one there, James. So if you want to get out of being overthinking, you want to get into conscious actions. What's the next best move here? An example, Jerry, of coping mechanisms that will block your alignment I gave earlier, which was aloofness. That's one that many women, and I know there's a lot of men on here, so let me think about, so being aloof or bitchy is a word that a lot of women really embody, and they call it like a boss chick, but that's a defense mechanism, okay? That's a coping mechanism to perceive yourself as bigger or better than others. Aloofness is the same, just expressed differently, and it's all part of protection. So those are protection mechanisms that are at play. So what's one that men might do? Oh, I'm fine. They don't say how they feel. Men will cope physically over going into their emotional aspects. So how does not being in touch with your emotions work in the long term? Well, let me put it like this. All of our lessons are connected to our soul. If we're not learning our soul lessons, and we know our soul is directly connected to our emotional body, If we are not learning our soul lessons from our emotional aspects, you will get what's called soul sickness. So just hang out with me for a moment here. I'm going to take you down the road. So soul sickness is in the non-physical, right? So everything that begins in life begins in the non-physical. So if we're ignoring our emotional body, we are ignoring aspects that will bring us to an illness. So you will learn the lessons of your soul consciously or unconsciously through illness or through a life review after you're gone. But either way, you're going to learn the lessons. You might as well start looking at your emotional aspects that need to be addressed so you can heal in this lifetime, so you can feel more free. Because what men have been conditioned to do is not go into their emotional body. Why? Because you become more empowered. You can't control people when they're in their power. So this is what's happening. The whole gender situation that's going on, this is all about disempowering people. It has nothing to do with gender, it has everything to do with empowerment and alignment. The flight attendant is saying, I have addicted to cigarette for almost 10 cigarettes per day. Well, I would go to your values, flight cadet, and how does that support what you truly value? This is about coping mechanisms. Coping mechanisms and addiction are two different aspects. The coping mechanisms are what led to the addiction. It's not the addiction didn't happen and then the coping mechanisms. No, it's the coping mechanisms or the lack thereof having healthy coping mechanisms that led to an addiction. So you want to address the coping mechanisms. Have you identified them? Because what you're identifying here is addiction to cigarettes. Chris, I have a no more anxiety session. Go check it out. Anxiety is one of the easiest things for me to address with a client within 30 minutes. Anxiety is not at all what people think it is. Y'all have been conditioned to think that anxiety is just a way of coping and getting through life. Anxiety is crippling because it has a complex aspects that are going on physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Now, if you're taking medicine, you're going to cut out the spiritual aspect of the anxiety, which is a no-no. If you are not able to address your nervous system, you don't know where your nervous system is in your body, you don't know how to manage it, that's the second issue. That's going to, first of all, address the physical aspect immediately, and you will feel peace and calm. The second aspect is you need to know what's triggering the anxiety, and a lot of people don't know because they think they just have anxiety. Well, anxiety gets triggered. It gets triggered by things that are in the non-physical and physical. Those need to be addressed. I do that in the No More Anxiety program. I can't give you a solution when you haven't given the actual coping mechanism that led to the addiction. What are your coping mechanisms that you were doing before you started smoking? You got to identify, acknowledge, and then redirect. No, I do not want to start a business with you, but thanks a lot, Mr. Khan. James is asking, is it normal for women to be distant after miscarriage and ignore but still love me? Normal and natural are very different things, James. So your partner may be doing what's exactly natural for them. Normal is what everybody's doing. Natural is what is organic. And I would suggest, processing the learning around miscarriage, because miscarriage is a very common situation with couples. So learn from it. There are learnings there, and it can bring you closer together for sure. I'm so sorry for your situation, but know that when the soul is ready to emerge, it emerges. Jer is saying, brilliant example. I'm fine. Okay, good. Thank you, Jerry. Something I often say when I really want to say I'm actually not really fine, but it's just easier. Yes, because a lot of coping mechanisms are to keep things on the surface, right? So Jerry, I got you. We understand each other. So coping mechanisms are a way of denying the truth. What do we want to align to? The truth frequency within us. Hey, Red Hunter, good to see you again. So we want to really align with our truth. So instead of, when I was in grad school, I will tell you, I had this Japanese student that was with us, and he used to say that was an American thing, that all these Americans, they ask you how they are and they really don't care. People really don't care how you are. And he would get so mad. He's like, stop asking me how I am if you don't care. And I thought that was such a beautiful awareness, because America has this thing, and I don't know if it's just an American thing or if it's a thing, but people ask you how they are, but they really don't care. And I had a friend that was on her deathbed, and we agreed, people just don't know what to say to each other other than how are you. And I would just say, we came up with different words that we could say to each other, because I knew how she was doing. She was not doing well. And she didn't want to talk about how she was doing because it caused her pain, because her awareness was around her pain all day long. So I stopped asking her how she was, and I would just start telling her how much I loved her. And the beginning of our phone call was just a barrage of love to my dear friend that was dying and is now still in the process. And she's not even able to talk on the phone anymore. So it's really about awareness. And be willing to speak your truth. Maybe you don't need to tell everybody you're having a bad day, but you could test it out, Jerry, and say, well, since you asked, I have this pain in my left knee, and just see what people think. Just play with it. And that's the thing about awareness and about coping mechanisms, is that when we become aware of them, we can change them. And when we change them, we can clear our blocks to alignment. Because we don't want to be using our coping mechanisms when they bring us out of alignment, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Are you the only one who is doing something productive here? I don't think so. We have some great chats happening. And chemically, yes, Red Hunter, and chemically. Hey, Joker, I'm great. Thank you for being here. Oh, thank you, Hunter. That's so nice. Thank you, Peter. Peter's here helping in the mods. So appreciate you. Happy Diwali. Okay, it's been 6 months since my breakup, and I'm still struggling to move on. I've been using my breakup as a source of motivation, but I return to it to give me anxiety at times. Okay, what are the lessons? You have not gotten all the lessons from your breakup. Once you get all the lessons that you need to learn from your breakup, guess what? You're going to resonate right out of that pain and anxiety. So what are all the lessons? Go get them all, Shamara. Love is about learning. and expansion, not about pain and anxiety. Anxiety is a constriction, okay? I don't even know how to say your name. How strongly childhood related to today's topic? It could be related, for sure, because people embody coping mechanisms from all different kinds of ways. I wouldn't dare say that each coping mechanism is related to a trauma because people tend to make their traumas their stories, and I wouldn't dare do that to y'all. I wouldn't dare make your trauma your story. Why? Because stories and narratives repeat. Oh, the bee is at the door. You want to see Ra? You guys haven't seen Ra in her little costume. Ra's a bee today. She took off her antennas. Happy Halloween, y'all. Say hi, Ra. Hi, Ra. She does not like to be woken up from her slumber. And the package was delivered. Sorry about that, y'all. Had lots of interruptions today. I thought today would be a late day with no interruptions, and here I'm getting interrupted left and right. Here you go, Ra. Okay. So do not make your trauma your story. And do not make all your coping mechanisms, they don't have to be tied to a trauma. They could just be something that needs to be identified. But when you connect it to a trauma, guess what? You're connecting to the story. Don't do that, please. Don't do that to yourself. Don't do that to yourself. These stories need to stop. So identify, acknowledge, and redirect your coping mechanisms. Okay, Sailor's Life is saying, I'm in a state that is extremely hard to stress me out. Is that a coping mechanism? Well, coping mechanisms are related to states of stress. So what I would ask is, what is the coping mechanism that you have employed that does not serve to make you have less stress? It actually is just a coping mechanism because you're trying to avoid the stress. What happens if the stress is just a state of being and you don't have the coping mechanism? You will have less stress. So let me see, what is a coping mechanism that lots of people go to that causes more stress? Any addiction, any neurosis. What would another one be? Gossiping. That kind of thing. Give me something specific to work on, Sailor Life, and I can get more specific with you. Okay, what is my job? I do what's called energy psychology. I do this every day, all day long. I help people align physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. I do that through this process called energy psychology, and I meet with clients one-on-one or couples one-on-one, or I work with teams, and I help them disentangle from the patterns that are keeping them out of alignment. Now, I do this every day, all day long, but I come on here every day to share information about the natural laws and about different practices that people can put in place that helps them become more aligned themselves, because ultimately we are our own healers, right? I help people align. Yes, I'm a great guide on that one-on-one, but you know, I'm here to say that we are all being guided to be our own healer. Thank you, Seema. Hey, Greg. I thought it was Greg, but I didn't want to assume. Thank you, Greg. Some of the names, that's hard for me to say. Okay, I've been okay. It's been rough times, but it's fine. Thanks for making me feel better. You're so kind and beautiful. Well, thank you, Ava. I'm so glad. I started this whole YouTube channel with the hopes of helping just one person. If I helped just one person, that was a success to me. So thank you. Somebody's saying, hey, what do you think? Girls move on after a breakup easier than boys? Why would you even compare? Why would you even take a moment of your energy and compare what your experience is to somebody else? Doesn't matter. What somebody else is doing, whether they moved on or not, is none of your business. And this division between girls move on faster than boys, I mean, what are we, in elementary school? No. Stop the competition. Stop the separation. That is silly. Silliness. Anxiety can definitely mess with you mentally, physically, and more. That's right. It can, but it doesn't have to. Do not make so. What I saw a lot. I saw this a lot during COVID. Not as much now, but people really made anxiety part of their identity. And they started claiming it as part of who they are. Anxiety is an expression. And it's an expression of oppression, control, constriction. That's what it is at its root. But it also has elements that throw you off in your chemistry. That's why it's so important for you to understand how to get it under control naturally. Red Hunter, drinking alcohol is a coping mechanism. It can be for a lot of people, for sure. Seema is asking, can anxiety and depression come back at any time? Well, both of those are expressions, and they would be an expression that you would have to be in agreement with for it to emerge in your experience. So that would be dependent on you. The Joker. A month ago, I dislocated my right shoulder. I have to read all these comments before I read them because I've learned that some of them are not, they have a ulterior motive. So a month ago, I dislocated my right shoulder. I'm doing physical therapy, but yesterday I was in the supermarket and someone touched my shoulder. Unknowingly, it's broken, and I spent the whole day cursing God. What the hell is wrong with me? So first of all, let me say, Joker, I'm sorry that you're in so much pain and somebody unknowingly hurt you, so you know it wasn't intentional. And so what's the point in cursing something that's already happened? What does that do? Does that make you feel better? No. In fact, that type of constriction causes more pain. Okay? So I know this because my mother was in physical therapy. Her physical therapist had her doing an exercise and left my mother, and my mother fell and then broke and shattered her wrist. Which directly impacted her job. So, you know, these things happen. But healing is all about alignment. So I would offer you, Mr. Joker, is to go into your heart. Find a way to resolve the anger within your heart, because that piece is going to help you heal faster. And that's really what you're wanting, is healing, is to be out of pain. And if you want to heal faster, you want to create a harmonious experience within your body. Okay? I would also say that it would be important for you to know that you were in agreement with somebody coming into your field. So, or else it wouldn't have happened. So I know that most people don't like to think that. They like to blame other people, but you are a co-creator, okay? You are a co-creator, and we create every experience, pleasant and unpleasant, all of them. And trust me, I have co-created some stuff I'd rather not, but I did, and I accepted it so I can learn and grow and move forward. So go into your heart, Joker, and feel the self-love that you need to heal and expand it. There's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with you. You're in pain. And when you feel pain, it will rock your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. The best way to align is to go into your heart. Now, when I have had physical pain, excruciating, I would meditate all day until it went away. So I would ice every hour, and then I would meditate. And then I would ice, and then I put my timer on, and I'd wake up in the night and meditate every hour on the hour. Even if I fell asleep, I was going to fall asleep during my meditation in my heart. So why? Because that makes your pain go away faster. Why? Because when you're in meditation and in your heart, you achieve what is called present moment awareness. That is when all the pain dissipates. The longer you could stay in that, the better. Okay. Yes, you pronounce my name correct. All right, Seema, thank you. Oh, thank you for subscribing. If this resonates for you all, great. If not, just keep it moving. Board certified for what? For the natural laws? How are you going to certify for the natural laws? Tell me that. Hey, Salvo, good to see you here. Yay, Salvo's here. Hello. Yeah, Elliot, you could go into why. It doesn't even matter why it happened. No. Heretic? Have I seen it? I don't understand what you're asking. Jerry's telling everybody I'm from California. Yes. To be honest, I can't explain, just something that developed all along the way. Okay, well, now I'm at the end of the comments. So, Sailor, I want you to, Sailor's Life, this is the thing. We must identify our coping mechanisms. Otherwise, they stay unconscious and they block us, and they create patterns that we don't necessarily want to recreate. So, let's just say you have this stressful event in your life. What are the things that you do to try and mitigate the stress? So this is like, some people say, oh, I work better under pressure. And you might be one of those people. So that would tie directly to your belief system. So you guys are kind of getting seeds for tomorrow, but your coping mechanisms are always going to be tied to a belief system. Yes, I have heard of Osho. Naya, I don't do anything with medicines. So I don't tell anybody to take medicines or to not take medicines. I don't give any advice about that. So Naya, you're probably hearing something you didn't even hear. So keep it moving. That's not what I'm talking about. I've never told anybody to go take medicine. I never tell anybody to go to the doctor. That's not my business. I do have my own recommendations, what I do for me, but I don't say what you all should do. And by the way, you don't need to be board certified to talk common sense. Hello, you do not need to be board certified to talk common sense. In fact, most of those board certified people don't have common sense. They only regurgitate what they've been conditioned to believe, which is missing the component of spiritual aspects, which is problematic because everything happens in the non-physical before it becomes physical. What do you have to say to that? You got me riled up here now. Okay, Joker, let's see what you have to say here. I really think you'll find, Joker, some peace and ease when you go into your heart and the resistance will come down. And when you have less resistance, that pain, constriction will start to soften. If I'm skipping your question because I haven't seen it. So a coping mechanism is a behavior that is employed to avoid or reduce stress. That's the general definition we're working off of here. It's often unconscious and it blocks alignment of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies. Okay? Greg is saying, I must admit that a big part of me is clinging to what happened to me when I was a child. Yes, I understand that. And I have troubles letting it go. Okay, Greg, this one's for you, okay? You're not alone. And this is going to every single person in here who has a issue from the past that you notice you have attachment to, or you're clinging to, or maybe it feels like it's hooked in. What I want you to do is go find all the lessons that you need to learn from that situation. Good, bad, no judgment. Just go, I need to learn from this childhood trauma. I need to learn these, how many things? What's the number that comes to your mind? So Greg, yours is going to be somewhere in the 20s. 25 lessons, something like that. So go find all those lessons from that childhood situation, however you're identifying it, and just go like this. This situation happened, and I need to learn these 25 things. What do I need to learn from that situation? Okay, I need to learn that it wasn't my fault. Okay, that would be one of them. It's not my fault. What would be another one, Greg? I want you to get this, and I want you to go get all those 20, it's going to be 20, 25, 26, somewhere around there lessons, okay? Once you get all 26, you're going to notice it's going to unhook, but you got to get all the lessons. I love that, Eric. So cute. Happy Halloween. So cute. Time pass. I'm not a big avid reader. I do read books, yes, but only books that interest me. Jerry is asking, are there good coping mechanisms? Well, there are healthy behaviors for sure. There absolutely are healthy behaviors. They're not considered a coping mechanism because it would be a healthy behavior. So, but that's not what we're talking about today. There are healthy behaviors like meditation, like conscious breathing. Do those help you cope better? Yeah. Are they considered coping mechanisms? No. Because a coping mechanism is a behavior of which you are employing to avoid stress. And most of the time they're unconscious. I am drinking illumination tea. Illumination tea, y'all. All right, well, we're almost at 50 minutes, so I just wanted to say thank you for being here on this day, talking about coping mechanisms. I believe this topic is ginormous, and I just tried to present it in a way that I thought it would make it actionable for you to actually evolve beyond your coping mechanisms, because most people make their coping mechanisms part of who they are. And oftentimes those parts of who we've identified with often block us from who we are becoming. So we don't want to do that. Yes, you can ask if it's around the topic of coping mechanism. Let me know. Yes, Red Hunter is saying the gym can be a good coping mechanism. Absolutely. The gym often is used as a way for people to move and get circulation. But back in the day, people walked. People were outside, The gym has become a social thing for a lot of people. And I would say, I'm not going to say, that's not important. What kinds of fiction, nonfiction books? I don't have a book to recommend right now. For peace of mind, I don't know who you like to read. Have you read A Good Earth by Eckhart Tolle? That's a good book. That's about peace. I don't know. I don't make a lot of book recommendations unless they're like one of my top 5 or 10 books. Because, there's a lot, everything's about resonance. What do you resonate with? What are you ready for? Yes, consuming adult content can be a coping behavior. Yes, it can. But also, I will say it's more of a mind control behavior. So it's a way in which your mind has become weak and controlled, and therefore you have these impulses that are incongruent with your natural state of being. So you definitely would like to learn about mind control, because that's what porn and adult behavior content that you are calling it, these OnlyFans crap, that's all about mind control. And it's all about making people weak in their mind. So you definitely, most people don't know that that's what's happening, but that's what's happening. That's what that stuff does. And it is targeted at our men. Why? Why do they want to make our men weak? Why would our men need to be weak? Well, because you could control people when they're weak. And if you could control them when they're weak mentally, guess what happens next? Then they get anxiety. Oh, then you got them mentally, emotionally, and physically. And if you have anxiety, guess what's happening? You're not connecting with your spiritual aspects, are you? No. So you've got them. This is why those things are so powerful. Illumination tea, yes. There's no, it's called living tea. I love it. All we must do is place our faith in the Lord. Well, you are missing the part of co-creation. Okay? So yes, have faith, but know that you are a co-creator. Energy takes co-creation always. Hey, Greg, thank you for thanking me. I appreciate you. Salvo, everyone copes differently. Yes, they do. People don't realize why they are doing it. That's why I did this topic and I just focused on 2 main aspects, because they're always running an undercurrent, our coping mechanisms. So how do we make them more apparent? We must identify them, acknowledge them, and then redirect our attention. Feed what you want to grow. Jerry is saying, okay, see you next time. Yes, I am married. Happily married, yes. I'm not a fan of Napoleon Hill. Time passed. You'll have to come back for the next one. Faith requires action, always. All right, y'all. Thank you so much for taking time to be here. Thank you, Peter, for being the moderator. I appreciate you. I'm here every day for the Being in Sync 366 video series. Every day is a different topic, but tomorrow is going to be part 2 of this topic, coping mechanisms. Why is it part 2? Because this content, if I make it too dense, it won't make any sense. So I'm trying to break it up into aspects that are really tangible for everybody. So every day I come on here between 12 p.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Every day is a different topic. This is the Being in Sync 366 video series where I talk about the natural laws and being in alignment physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. If those things are of interest to you, you can check out my webpage at kiana.com. Otherwise, I will see you tomorrow. You guys have a great day. Namaste. Happy Halloween, and have a great day. Bye. Thanks, Peter.